coming
love
up?
white people?
There are many, I have many white friends. I don't have any problems with white people in general. My problem is typically with whiteness.
White what? And so do you love white people?
I have white people in my life who I love, sure.
So do you love white people?
I'm not saying that I love 100% of all the white people who exist who I don't know, but there are white people who I know and love, yeah.
And why don't you love all white people? Do you love white people?
There are many, I have many white friends. I don't have any problems with white people in general. My problem is typically with whiteness.
White what?
Whiteness. That's different from white people.
And so do you love white people?
I have white people in my life who I love, sure.
So do you love white people?
I'm not saying that I love 100% of all the white people who exist who I don't know, but there are white people who I know and love, yeah.
And why don't you love all white people?
I think it's an aspiration as a person who is spiritual to love all people. But I don't want to sit here and be phony and act like I love all people. Not yet. I'm not that far along on my spiritual path. I'm still getting there.
I see. Why do the blacks feel that white people are superior to them?
I think that's the way white people often feel.
No, but white people never say it. You always hear that from the blacks saying that. White supremacy, white people this, white people that. We need a hand up from the whites. We need this from the white. Why do the blacks feel that whites are superior to them?
Well,
they
white
even
people,
call them white supremacy. That they're saying white superior.
Well, what we are addressing when we say that is the way in which white people constructed race to make it seem like they were superior, based on a bunch of foolishness like skin color and hair texture and eye color. It's like, what does that have to do with anything? So when black people are talking about white supremacy, we're referring to race science, where they said they were better than us. Now, everybody now knows that's horseshit, but it doesn't mean that we're not...
Horse?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
But it doesn't mean that we're not still confronting the problem of the race science that they constructed.
Oh, your book, The End of Love, Racism, Sexism, and the Death of Romance.
Yes.
You argue that it is harder for a black woman to find a long-term relationship. And why do you think that is? Because it is. Why do you think that is?
The problem is that so many men are expecting a woman who is slim, white, and pliant. So they want a woman who is fair-skinned, with straight hair and a slender physique, and is going to do what they say. Now, as you might imagine, after the many feminist movements that we have had in this world, and especially in the West, women aren't mostly up to that. We, for those of us who are looking for a man, want someone who's going to be a partner, someone who's going to be a companion and equal. But unfortunately, that's not the view that many men have.
So that's what you mean by the end of love?
Well, partially what I'm talking about in the book is the reality that romantic relationships, people used to call them love, but love and romance are not the same. But romantic relationships that people used to expect would happen to everyone if you were just attractive enough as a woman, if you had enough money as a man, well, then, you know, you get your taco as a woman and a man's wallet, and they're compatible and you're going to be together forever. More people are either not finding romantic partnerships when they want them, or getting into them, such as I have done, and then realizing, oh, I don't want that. No, let me get out of that. So at the current time, according to a couple of different studies that I've seen, 52% of adult women are single. That makes us the majority. Some of us are choosing singlehood, like myself, but others, they want to have a man, but they don't want to follow the old traditional rules to get one.
But if they don't, they're never going to get a man.
There it is. You either are a trad wife or you're not a wife for a lot of men. Not every single one.
So, but the real reason that black women don't have long-term relationship unless they get with a white man, is because black women, especially the educated ones, they're like nasty. You know, they think they're equal to the man. If they have an education, they think they're smarter than the man. They think they don't need a man. They have nasty attitude, you know. Just.
Okay, I agree with two of those four things. You said we think we're equal to men.
Yeah.
And that
also they don't want, I noticed that educated women of all races, but especially black women, they don't make for good wives and mother to men children.
So now this
that's
is
why
the
I tell
issue.
men they shouldn't marry an educated woman because she would never make for a good wife and a good mother to his children.
Now, that doesn't make any sense. Now, first of all, it's quite clear that I'm not nasty, and I'm pretty well educated.
But I bet you're
feel
different
like,
when the men are dealing with you.
well, I'm dealing with a man right now.
I know, but you are nice now, but if we were dating or married, you'd be held to pay.
You know, we're dealing in counterfactuals. Okay, let's focus on the things that are really going on.
Okay.
So, no, in reality, a lot of women are single because men are looking for simplicity, and they're especially looking for women who are considered attractive enough in a white visual economy. I call these women sufficiently white. Oh, what's their body size like? Oh, okay, what's the hair like? Oh, how much money do they have? Don't get it twisted. There are plenty of men, and I've encountered multiple men like this, who are looking for successful women so they could take it easy. Right. So we're dealing with a number of confusing problems, not the least of which is that women do have high standards, and women who want male partners want to find an equal. But unfortunately, a lot of men are looking for a woman who is subordinate.
But it's normal for a man to look for a wife that will obey him, that would not be trying to go to work, but would stay home and raise his children, watch over his children, keep the house clean, and stay barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen.
That's a trad wife.
That's why.
I think you're right. It is normal, and in the sense that it's historically been typical.
And that's
but it's not
that
helpful. Worked for who? It worked for the men.
It worked for the men and the women in the good old days, but now it's not working for either the man or the woman.
There it is.
Because the man can't find a woman that is a common sense woman anymore.
Well, I think instead of having common sense, women want to have dignity and respect. Hence feminism.
That's a mess, though.
No, feminism has given us a sense of who we are and what we can achieve in the world.
The women now, feminism has caused women to be old and lonely and lost.
I don't think feminism is causing women to age specifically.
Meaning that they're getting old with no husband, no children, and they regret it that I had a little career. And so once that ego fulfillment is not working, they realize I should have gotten married, I should have had children, but it's too late because a man don't want an old woman.
That's not about love at all. Well, you know, it's interesting because I think a growing number of women are realizing that we can either be trad wives, as you've articulated, or we could be single and happy and partying it up with our friends. So I meet a lot of married women who look at my life and wish they could have what I have, you know, to be successful, to be on TV doing various things, and really to be cultivating the kind of community that I want to have for myself.
But that's not life. That's just a false imitation of life.
How's it not life?
The TV thing and the party thing and the degree thing are going to fade away, and then you're going to be lonely.
You know,
reality is going to set in, and you're going to think, what happened? Because all that stuff is not fulfilling you.
Oh, it is.
It's just giving you an ego gratification, but it does nothing for the real you.
Well, I was talking about my spirituality.
That's why when you're alone, you feel lonely.
No, I have my
spirituality. Is not around.
I have my community of women and fellow practitioners. Not all of them are women, but many of them are. So I have a group of people, not to mention my biological family, who love me and support me, who I see regularly. And that's what we need in our lives. We don't have to have a marriage to be happy. In fact, one of my friends, her mother was married for nearly 50 years, and they got separated. And when my friend talked to her mom about it, she said, you know, you can feel really lonely in a marriage.
All right. The man and the woman feel lonely because even with the marriage, it doesn't fulfill the soul of the person. It's just two people come together to make babies, to raise a family. But the real love comes from God, of course, but it doesn't fulfill. But to be a woman and to get old and don't have that is hard for the woman.
I think a lot of people want to scare women with that. They want to be like, you're going to be old one day and no man's going to want you.
No, I'm hearing it from women all the time.
Let me tell you something. I went to the Anita Baker concert, you know, when she was like, I'm retiring, and then she didn't retire because she got... Right. But anyways, it was amazing, this concert. And Stevie Wonder showed up. Like a surprise guest, Stevie Wonder just got on the stage. I don't know if I'm about to get in trouble for what I'm about to say. But anyway, let me tell you how Stevie Wonder was trying to holler at Anita Baker. I mean, the way, like, just the interactions between them. I'm not sure how old Anita Baker is, but I think that she's over 70. You know, she's at least in her mid-60s.
So she's still alive?
Anita Baker is an amazing songstress, and
No, I know
everyone
she
still
can
shows
sing.
up for
She
her.
perform well.
Yeah,
I didn't know she was still alive though.
But the point that I'm making is that I'm waiting for the age where men stop looking at me. I mean, it's like, it doesn't even matter what I'm wearing. If I'm somewhere, men see me, they think, oh, maybe this is my shot. This is what a lot of women endure. So I don't think that the question of aging out of men's interests is really a real one.
Well, men, when they're looking at you, they're not thinking, they probably think you're pretty, I guess, but they're also thinking, I want her for sex.
Yeah.
They're not thinking they want to marry you or anything.
And that's the problem a lot of black women experience.
How do you feel about that?
That's a problem for me personally. I mean, unless I'm also sexually interested in that person, which doesn't happen a lot. But overwhelmingly, black women are not viewed as being worthy of sexual relationships, long-term sexual partnerships. Usually when people are looking for a long-term romantic partnership, they're looking for someone who is sufficiently white. And all of the data show this.
Right, it is, but because they can't find a black woman that they know that they can be one with, they can have a family with, they're not going to have to fight with her all the time and blah, blah, blah. So they look outside of the black race because they're looking for a woman that won't be trying to be equal to the man and won't be all nasty and, you know how black women are.
I mean, I know how stereotypes about black women are.
But
I know
how
that
they
white
are,
guys are the ones who invented those.
What?
White people have invented the stereotype of black women being
But
sapphires,
we can
angry,
see it
screaming.
for ourselves.
You mean to tell me
You know-
you've never seen an angry white woman?
No, I'm not saying I've never seen it, but I'm saying that majority of black women are angry and out of control. And so black men
There's
are
no
seeing-
data on that. You made that up.
I don't need data on it. I see it by myself. Common sense shows it to me, right?
No, you cannot.
And I hear other men
No.
say that too. They don't want a black woman because they don't want to deal with that attitude. So how do you feel with professional black men, basketball players and governors or whatever, they end up marrying non-black women? What do you think about that?
I think that in many instances, what they're trying to do is move up the status hierarchy. You know, it's so easy these days for people to pretend like every relationship is about love. Most relationships are not about love, at least these ones that are supposed to be through the romantic circuit. They're often about status.
But black women have money now because they got this false education thing. So why would they marry a black woman for the status? She got the same money or even more money than the white woman. Why wouldn't they marry a black woman with money for status?
Status isn't just about money. It's about access. So you can be a wealthy black woman, but you can still be in places where white people won't want you there.
Like what?
Whereas if you are a black man with a white woman, you might find that it's a little bit easier to move through the world. You might find a little bit more social fluidity. That's what many of them are after. And the money doesn't hurt too, because they often have more money.
But that doesn't exist. That's not true
Yeah.
about the access thing.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely true.
I want to ask you about body fat.
Uh-oh.
You write a book about that too in your book.
Sort of. It's about fatphobia.
Yeah, fatphobia, yeah.
Yeah.
You write, it sounds or seems, and I may be wrong, that you're blaming white people that black women are fat.
Mm-mm.
You said it had slavery and that in the slavery days.
What is happening?
You said during slavery, the white people, and correct me if I'm calling you wrong, of course, because I don't have it in front of me right now. You said something like the white people made the black women fat.
No, I didn't say that.
The white women, the black women were already fat, and the white woman was not fat.
No, I didn't say that either.
And so they made the white skinny look beautiful, and fat black women look bad.
That's not what happened at all.
What are you saying with that?
What I'm actually saying is that race scientists were trying to identify ways to keep race going because skin color was no longer a very good proxy, right? There was all of this sex happening between supposedly black and supposedly white populations, creating all of these light-skinned people. And so they said, okay, we need to build up our racial scientific ideas. It's not just about skin color, it's other stuff too. Yeah, it's about how much they eat. Black people are greedy and they tend to be fat. And we don't want ourselves to be like that because we're good, restrained, white Christians, right? So that was really the genesis of the idea. Because for a very long time, as we can see in Renaissance art, there were plenty of voluptuous, fat, curvaceous, fleshy white women who were deemed the epitome of beauty. You look at the work of Peter Paul Rubens or Titian or Michelangelo. I mean, there's so many different artists who were drawing fleshy, beautiful white women.
You can see that now if you go down to Alabama.
Okay, they're still drawing them.
You're going to see some fat white women down there, too. They had a smorgasbord.
Stop it.
And so you're going to see fat white women and fat black women go up to that smorgasbord line 8 times.
And all of them are worthy of respect.
Big as a house.
No matter what their size.
They
That's
black
the main
and white,
point.
though.
Yeah, okay, well, fine, yeah.
So fat black women didn't come from white people.
No, fat black women have always existed, and
Right.
fat black women will always exist.
It's funny, too, when I read that, I reflected, and when I was growing up, before the Civil Rights Movement again, I don't ever remember seeing fat black women, either old or young. And as a matter of fact, all of my girls, the girls I dated, they had amazing body, little tiny waistline, thin, and...
What's this have to do with their character?
No, I'm just saying that slavery, white people didn't make fat black women. Because in the good old days when blacks was in charge of their own life, they knew that fat was a health issue. You know, and that's why they lived longer too, because they didn't get fat. One of the reasons, right? Because they knew that fat can cause high blood pressure, it can cause other disease. And so even without being told by some white man, they took care of themselves. So I don't even remember seeing fat black women until I went to the city, up to Indiana and Chicago and those places. And that's when those women were fat up there.
Yeah, I mean, you could be any size and be healthy. Being
No,
thin
but
doesn't
being
make you
fat
healthy.
is not healthy.
You can absolutely
That's
be a
why
fat,
those
healthy
women
person.
lived long, because they were not fat.
Are you trying to suggest that the life expectancy of black women is decreasing since you were born? Because I feel like that's not true.
Yeah, and those fat ones.
No, there's no evidence of that.
Yes, they do. They have high blood pressure.
No.
They have heart attacks.
No.
They can't walk as fast.
So now,
and they stay hungry.
a lot of this is based on folk medicine, and unfortunately, even the actual medical industry reproduces these ideas. This is false. The whole idea about obesity relies on something known as body mass index, or BMI, and this was invented by an astronomer. Now, how is it possible that an astronomer who was not in any way remotely concerned about health outcomes has invented a tool that we have decided to use for health outcomes? The whole thing is preposterous, but here we are.
I don't know about all that, but I do know that fat black women weren't around in the good old days.
Yeah, they were. Mm-hmm.
And Miss Shule lived to be 100 or something. Miss Evelou, 90. Miss May, 120.
Big Mama Thornton.
What?
Big Mama Thornton existed when you were growing up. No, there were fat black women. You trying to do me? I've been knowing about that.
Not in Alabama.
There were plenty of fat black women everywhere.
Where? Like where? Not when I was growing up.
Okay, I don't know where you were growing up, how there was no fat people, but fat people have always existed.
Well, I'm sure fat people have always existed, but my point is that fat black women didn't come from racism. And fat black women have not, there have always been fat women, I'm sure, but they were like thinking it was good to be fat. You know, they were.
I didn't say that racism invented fat black women. I never said that.
You said slavery did or something, right?
No, I said that race science suggested that there was a connection between fatness and blackness because they wanted to continue to find ways to denigrate black people. So they switched it up. Previously, white people enjoyed fleshy women across race, fleshy white women too. And then, as they were trying to figure out additional rationales to keep black people enslaved, they were like, nah, they got an appetite issue. They eat too much. So that's when white people changed the standard and suggested that fatness was wrong because it was connected to blackness.
Well, that's not weird because when I was growing up, black people knew the standard that fat wasn't good. And no white person told them that. They knew fat wasn't healthy. As we know today that fat is not healthy.
We don't know that.
Uh-huh.
And when you say fat, what do you mean?
Fat.
You realize that when there's a variety of different weights, so that a person could be considered a small fat, right, to a super fat. So for you, any amount of fat on the body is wrong?
No. You know fat when you see it.
But
right?
This is not medicine at all. That's like, you can't be like, nah, I know fat when I see it. No, that's not right.
But you do know fat when you see it, right?
That's exactly what I'm countering. No.
You don't know fat when you see it?
What I know is that there's a variety of different fat
I can see
people.
you walking down the road, or you at some event, and I can see you walking through the event, and you see fat women over there. You're thinking, oh, those are fat women over there. You may not say it, but you recognize a fat woman when you see her.
I'm not saying I've never seen fat people.
I rest my case.
Fat people exist.
I rest my case.
How is that your case?
We know fat when we see it.
But that's different from assuming that any type of person that you identify as fat is unhealthy. That's wrong.
No, a fat person is an unhealthy person.
That's why I've been asking you, what do you mean when you say that?
They have high blood pressure.
None of
they
this
have
is
some type of heart
verifiable.
disease. They have some type of medical issue.
Okay, we may as well
Their
leave this alone.
legs are swollen.
No, none of this is right.
They can barely walk.
Incorrect.